Brothers, I'm bringing horror movies again. Today, we continue with American Horror Story. Warning! The story begins with a woman holding a rabbit, wandering around the room. She gestures here and here. It is said that the rabbit has psychic abilities. Whenever something is wrong, the rabbit will start beating the drum. Tick-tock. The woman walked towards the direction of the drum beating. It was a basement in her house. Foreigners' basements seem to be haunted. The ghost holds a rabbit. The woman went to the basement to continue gesturing. She found that there might be something in the stove. The stove hadn't been used for a long time, so it was sealed. She took a small saw from above and sawed on the wooden board. Not long after, and cut a big hole. She looked inside, and the woman was shocked. Then the camera cut to a bearded man. He had an accident and lost his memory recently. A man claiming to be Guangmingding came to him, saying he was the big bearded man's friend, and now asked him for a favor. He has a niece who lives in a remote mountain village, refused to live in the city, and asked him to be a babysitter to take care of her for a few days. This niece is the girl who gestured with a rabbit at the beginning. Guangmingding said his niece had some mental problems, so she needs to find a trustworthy person to take care of her. And that person is you, Dahus. And I won't treat you unfairly. I'll pay you 300 yuan a day. Take care of her for 5 days. I'll be back soon. Seeing such a high salary, Dahus didn't immediately agree. What about the girl's parents? Why don't they take care of her? Guangmingding said his brother died last year due to suicide, and his sister-in-law disappeared 8 months ago. Thinking of the girl's family, it was quite miserable. Dahus agreed to go with Guangmingding. But on the way, Guangmingding stopped the car and told Dahus that he would change the transportation. Let's get off quickly. Looking at the lake opposite, Dahus was a little confused. You didn't tell me when we came here. The house is on an island, and I can't swim. If you regret and don't want to do it, I can't get back. Guangmingding said, we have a boat, but when the bearded man arrived at the island, he found that there was only one boat. Guangmingding was really a jerk. Then they walked into the house. They saw niece Zhao squatting on the ground, covering her eyes with her hands. Guangmingding said it was some kind of schizophrenia. Every time he has a fit, he looks like this. He was in a state of enlightenment. No matter how loud the noise outside is, he couldn't hear it. The bearded man thought, this job is quite simple. But after a while, Guangmingding brought him a piece of clothing, saying it was work clothes, and kindly prepared to put it on the bearded man. The bearded man thought, why do I have to be tied up? And isn't this for dogs? Guangmingding said, the chain is long enough. You can move around the room, but you can't enter Zhao Li's room. Dahus also understood Guangmingding's meaning. He quickly said he wasn't that kind of person. Guangmingding said, bro, I believe in you, but my niece won't believe it. You have to take care of the feelings of the mentally ill. The bearded man was speechless anyway. He thought that since he had come, let him be trapped if he wants. But how could a normal person accept this kind of job? Going to work, he would be tied up like a dog. Maybe it was because he just got out of hospital, and he really had no money. He didn't even have a mobile phone, just an old one. After tying up the bearded man, Guangmingding left the key in Zhao Li's room. He also gave a sly smile before leaving, as if telling Dahus, you'll suffer later. Being tied up, Dahus could only wander around the house. He found the end of the chain was in a basement. Seeing the dark place, Dahus didn't dare to go down. Then he left. He happened to pass by a toilet when he went out, so he planned to use the toilet. But when he unbuckled his belt, but found the chain was too short, this Guangmingding is really a ripoff. Didn't he say he could go anywhere? But luckily the chain was long enough to stand outside the house. And the bearded man happened to see such a scene. A dog was tied up like him. The bearded man has a strong empathy. He thought they were brothers in the same boat. So he went into the house and got some dog food to feed him. Then he sat at the door and took out a photo to recall. The man in the red leather jacket was his brother. But because of amnesia, he only remembered so much. He was looking at it. The chain behind him was suddenly pulled by something. The bearded man was a little scared. He quickly chased after it, but found no one there. He guessed that Zhao Li had recovered, and then played a prank. But when he arrived at the room, Zhao Li was sitting there, and was still in the sage mode. The bearded man thought it wasn't her, so he planned to leave. Then he saw a door in Zhao Li's room, and there was a creaking sound coming from inside, which kept making a creaking sound. Because he couldn't go there, so he quickly left and returned to his dormitory. There was a painting hanging opposite the bed, which looked quite scary. The man was staring at him, so he turned his body to the other side and slept. But after a while, there was a loud thud behind him. The bearded man turned around, and the painting had fallen to the ground. and its eyes were staring straight at him. He walked over and flipped the painting over, and went back to bed. But he always felt like someone was staring at him. He was stunned. When did the painting turn back by itself? Without thinking much, he quickly turned it back first, and then faced the painting to sleep. He wanted to see how the painting turned around. He just kept looking and looking. The bearded man soon fell asleep. Soon, the painting fell to the ground again, which woke him up, but now the painting was upside down, indicating that it was facing the bed before it fell. So he quickly ran over to pick up the painting, to see what was going on. The eyes of the person in the painting were wide open, and there was a sound coming from the painting. The person seemed to be talking, telling the man to come closer. It turned out that the bearded man had a dream. The painting was still there. When the bearded man woke up, he walked out of the room. He saw a rabbit in the cabinet. He thought it was cute, so he took it out and put it on top to ward off evil. Then, there were a few screams outside. Zhao Li said it was the cry of a fox, asking him not to be afraid. Seeing Zhao Li holding a crossbow, how could he not be afraid? He felt that the girl was coming to show off to him. She was shaking the crossbow left and right. Zhao Li asked Dahuz to rest assured. It won't go off. He used to go hunting with his father and his uncle to hunt foxes on this mountain, and he was very accurate. But his mother loved animals very much, so she was against hunting. When it comes to Zhao Li's father, Dahuz asked how his father died. Zhao Li said that her father was in the basement, blow his head off with this crossbow, because he suffered from severe claustrophobia, which means he couldn't stay in a confined space. He would go crazy, and his mother did a stupid thing. She knew her husband had this disease, and put on the thing that Big Beard was wearing, and put it on her husband. When her husband woke up, the couple started fighting over the key. Unexpectedly, the mother and father also got into a fight. They swallowed the key in front of their husband. This family is quite bizarre anyway. The husband was dumbfounded when he saw the key was gone. Fear of UB, he would be miserable if he was locked up. But if he ate it, he had to pull it out. His mother hung the key around her neck like a medal, and hung the key around her neck. Zhao Li thought her mother was acting strangely. She was actually crazy. She was possessed by something in the house. And after this incident, her father was inexplicably locked in the basement, because he was very scared inside, so he shot himself with a crossbow. After introducing the story of her family to Dahuzi, Zhao Li went back to her room. Dahuzi leaned on the chair and prepared to take a nap. While he was sleeping, the toy rabbit in front of him knocked a few times, which woke him up. Dahuz didn't understand what was going on, so he greeted the rabbit. Then the door of the basement creaked. The rabbit wanted to tell him there was something in the basement, but he didn't know anything, thinking it was a toy, so he lay down and continued to sleep. At this time, Big Beard looked back. The door to the basement was completely open, thinking it was Zhao Li who went down, so he called out a few times, but no one answered. So he took the rabbit and an iron rod and went downstairs. He saw the stove was sealed with a wooden board, with a hole cut in it. Curious about what might be hidden inside, so he stuck his head in and took a look. This glance almost gave him a heart attack, because he found the body of Zhao Li's mother, with a sword stuck in her chest. She was shot to death. It turned out that his mother hadn't disappeared at all. Thinking of Zhao Li holding a crossbow and shaking it just now, Dahuz guessed that the murderer was, so he hurried to Zhao Li's room. He saw that she was having a seizure, and entered the sage mode. Dahuz wanted to call Guangmingding with the phone nearby, but it was chained, but he couldn't reach it. Fortunately, there was a vent next to the phone, so he put his hand in, and called Guangmingding. Guangmingding was curious how he got the phone. Dahuz said, "Don't worry about that," saying that he found Zhao Li's fucking body, and was shot by a crossbow, hidden in the basement stove. "You come here quickly, and call the police." Guangmingding asked Dahuz not to tell anyone. He would come right away. After seeing a key on the door, the bearded man quickly locked Zhao Li in the room. He came to the basement. He wanted to open the iron ring, to get out of here. At this time, the intercom in the house rang. Zhao Li said she couldn't open her room, asking Dahuz to come over quickly. Da Huzi also told Xiao Li not to pretend, saying he found your mother's body, and you killed her, right? Saying that her uncle Guangmingding would come to deal with it. But Xiao Li said she didn't kill her mother, but her father and Guangmingding did it. This stunned the bearded man. Who killed whom? CPU is a bit overloaded. Xiao Li said Guangmingding would come down soon, saying that if you knew this secret, he definitely won't let you leave alive. The bearded man hurried to Xiao Li's side. He asked Xiao Li to put the crossbow by the door, and he would open the door for him. Xiao Li said he only found the body yesterday morning. Then she asked Guangmingding what happened. Guangmingding also admitted it generously, saying it was his father's idea, but he also helped kill. He said the reason he didn't want to call the police. He didn't want his father to bear the infamy of killing his wife. And now Guangmingding is coming, and there is no transportation to escape. Dahuz asked Xiao Li to call the police quickly, saying they needed help, telling the police their exact location. But Xiao Li obviously didn't have this idea, and just stared at the bearded man. At this time, the bearded man heard a sound coming from behind, and in the gap when he turned his head to look, Xiao Li actually changed into a red leather jacket. The bearded man instantly thought of his brother, saying his brother also had a similar one. Xiao Li said it was the same one. It was left by you when you came here. This confused the bearded man. He thought he had never been here before, but he can't say for sure because of his amnesia. He asked Xiao Li what she was doing here. Xiao Li said Guangmingding sent you here. Remember I said my dad committed suicide in the basement? The door was locked. The door was locked by you, because Guangmingding wanted to kill his father, but he couldn't do it, so he paid the bearded man to come here. The bearded man said he would remember killing someone. He asked Xiao Li to call Guangmingding and confront him himself.
Yes.
On the other end of the phone, Guangmingding said that you killed the bearded man and asked Xiao Li to turn off the microphone. They didn't know what they said, but after that, Xiao Li's eyes clearly revealed a hint of murderous intent. This scared the big beard, so he quickly locked Xiao Li inside. It turned out that Guangmingding had set a trap for himself. He came to the basement and wanted to pull out the iron ring, but after a few tries, he found it impossible. Then the bearded man sneaked upstairs again and wanted to get the key from the vent to get the key next to it to unlock the door. After finding the opportunity, he reached in, but Xiao Li was waiting for him. She grabbed the bearded man's hand and broke his hand. The bearded man held his dislocated hand. He hurried downstairs and pulled it back with force. Maybe it was the pain that made his brain suddenly clear. He recalled what Xiao Li had said. Didn't his mother often hang a key around her neck? He quickly pulled out the key. He pulled out the key. Now, the bearded man finally broke free. When he came to the pier, he found that he couldn't leave. The ship was driven away by Guangmingding, so he had to go back to the house. Then he saw Xiao Li escaping from the room. She broke the glass above and climbed over the wall. But now he was sick again and entered the sage mode. The bearded man took the crossbow next to him and put the shackles on Xiao Li and locked her. Due to the cold weather, he ran to Xiao Li's room and the cloakroom to sleep and put on a coat. But the bearded man's intelligence is really touching. He put the crossbow by the bed in the room and gave Xiao Li an iron hook and hooked it over. Then the bearded man opened the door of the cloakroom and saw such a scene. Xiao Li was aiming the crossbow at him. Luckily, it just missed. It brushed past the big beard's ear and scratched his ear. The bearded man was also like a fool. Seeing Xiao Li was reloading the crossbow, he didn't go up to grab it. Instead, he stood there and watched for a while. He quickly locked the door and hid inside. Hearing the sound of Xiao Li leaving, he quickly slipped out and thought he wanted to call the police himself. But he saw that the phone line had been cut. But he couldn't make the call, and he was caught by the trap again. It turned out that Xiao Li was waiting at the entrance. The bearded man suffered a loss last time, but he didn't learn his lesson this time. He quickly returned to the cloakroom and hid again. The pain also stimulated his brain. The bearded man recalled a year ago. He did come here. He was entrusted by Guangmingding to kill his brother. In fact, his sister-in-law died before his brother. Guangmingding lied to Dahuz. How did she die? It was when Guangmingding and his brother went hunting. His sister-in-law quickly ran over to stop them. His brother was annoyed by his sister-in-law. She usually just goes crazy at home. She even came to criticize them during the hunt. So he asked Guangmingding to set a trap to lure his sister-in-law over. and he shot her with an arrow after killing his sister-in-law. His brother also went crazy. He had a mental problem. Guangmingding was scared. He was afraid that his brother would expose this. Anyway, he is mentally ill. He would naturally have nothing to do with the police. If he takes all the blame, he will be doomed. So he entrusted the bearded man to go to his brother's house, lock him in the basement, and let him commit suicide inside. The bearded man thought Guangmingding was a bad guy. How could anyone kill his own brother? So he took off his coat and waited, waiting for his brother to come home, and wanted to tell him that Guangmingding wanted to kill him. Seeing his brother didn't come home, so he wrote a note nearby. After writing, he heard a burst of laughter from the basement. At this time, the basement door had been locked. The bearded man opened it with the key and went downstairs. He found a crossbow under there, and then his brother's body appeared in front of him, and found his brother's body. He had committed suicide. The bearded man also quickly ran out of the house. He found Guangmingding. Guangmingding said he did a good job, and was about to give him money. But the bearded man said he didn't do it. The door was locked when he arrived. Asked Guangmingding if he locked the door himself. Guangmingding thought he was stupid. If I locked the door myself, why would I need you? Then Guangmingding took out a note from his pocket, asking the bearded man what was going on. If the police saw it, he would be in big trouble. So he asked the bearded man to take the money and leave, and never let me see you again. In the middle of the night, Dahus was drinking and enjoying the scenery on the balcony. Then a pair of big feet walked behind him. It turned out that Guangmingding didn't leave, and hid in the house. Dahus was pushed downstairs and lost his memory here. Time goes back to the present. Beard remembered everything at this time. He first used a small pliers to cut off the sword teeth above, and wanted to find a chance to escape. Then a door opened by the toilet. He didn't know if it was a secret door or something, so he quickly climbed in. He didn't know where he would end up, but it's better than waiting to die. While climbing, Big Beard always felt that at the end of the pipe, someone was staring at him. It seemed that someone stuck his head out, and quickly retracted. The bearded man didn't think much of it. He climbed down a ladder along the camera, and below was the basement stove, along with him, and the body of Zhao Li's mother, which looked terrifying. Since Zhao Li left a saw here before, Dashan took it and quickly sawed the wood. It was creaking. While sawing, he felt something was wrong. He turned around. He found his mother had sat up. It didn't seem to be in this position before. Dashan continued, and continued to work, but the more he thought about it, the more creepy he felt. He put his hat on his mother's head. He couldn't see her face, which made him feel more comfortable, but after a while, he still felt like an eye was staring at him. The bearded man was immediately confused. He quickly increased his speed, squeaking, but footsteps came from outside. Zhao Li was walking towards here. I don't know if he had discovered the bearded man. He squatted at the door and reached in to feel around, looking for something. It turned out that he ran out of bullets. He pulled an arrow from the corpse. At this moment, Guangmingding finally arrived. After learning about the situation of the house from Zhao Li, Guangmingding found that there was a long crack on the wooden board. He ran over and took a look inside, and this glance happened to find the bearded man inside. But he didn't expect Zhao Li to stab him in the back. He must hate the uncle. Then he went upstairs to seek revenge on the bearded man. After Zhao Li left, Guangmingding asked the bearded man to come out quickly, saying that we should team up to get rid of him. Seeing the bearded man start sawing the wood inside, Guangmingding still wanted to plot against him. He picked up a wooden stake from the ground, and wanted to hit him when the bearded man came out. But at this moment, the inner line phone next to him rang with the voice of the bearded man, saying that he had sneaked out and would call the police and find someone to save you. Guangmingding heard the voice of the bearded man. He was stunned. The bearded man had already left, so who was the man sawing the wood? And when the bearded man left, he also took the dog with him. The movie ends here.